Hi, this is Chuck, and I just wanted to do a little bit of a tutorial on the Jesus Up In and Out series because we've been getting a lot of questions about how to actually use this series index. Now, first place I want to start is up here at the link. If you just click on that link, you notice this is a Google document, so wow, it's very long. And the best way for somebody to get here is not to type that whole thing out. It's for someone to cut and paste that either into a text or an email, send it to them. They can just click on the link. So that's a tip for helping people get to the index. Now, another feature that I want to show you real quick before we actually get into the series, over here is a comment box. If you click on that, you'll be able to type in a comment, and that would be very helpful for us to make changes or encourage us or give us some constructive feedback. So make your comments, please. And then you'll notice over here, this little green box, it says that there's one other viewer. If you click on that, you'll be able to communicate with whoever else is on the page. This portion up here will start blinking, and then you'll know somebody's in the chat room. So that's a real handy feature as well. So as we come down to the Jesus Up In and Out series, we see a little explanation of who the ideas came from and what the Jesus Up In and Out series is all about. Basically, it's a very simple, highly reproducible way of helping young disciple makers get started in making disciples. It's the science of disciple making, and not necessarily the art, but we do want to move people from science to art, but they got to start off with some kind of script, some kind of curriculum, if you will, in order to just get started in the process. We're finding that this simple process is helping people make disciples a lot sooner, giving them confidence and competence as they just follow some very simple guidelines, and it becomes highly reproducible. Alright, notice up here we have a few things like past, present, future, the meeting format for an A-team, or the video explanation of Jesus Up In and Out, or examples of testimony and two kingdoms illustration. We'll keep putting these helpful tips right here. In fact, this video will be posted right there so that people can kind of get to know their way around and get helpful tutorials on the process. But one of the things we need to do is we need to explain what 101, 201, 301, 401 lessons are. Basically, it's a process that we're taking the disciple through, and it's kind of like stages of growth, or if you will, the 4 years of college. And the first phase is 101. This is the basic stage, and this is really kind of a very highly structured method, and that's intentional so that young disciple makers know exactly what they need to do next. So they start with the intro and they move their way all the way through T for T 1 through 10. Now T for T stands for training the trainer, or training for trainers, and that came from a guy named Ying Kai in China, and it was very helpful for helping people reproduce disciples to the fourth, fifth, sixth, and beyond generations. So we just adopted and adapted his processes, which works really well. So for all those just beginning, you go to the 101 series, the basic, and you just work your way all the way through 10. 99% of the time you're going to stay in order. You may have some people that are in different stages of life and you need to do something first before you do another one, and that's fine. This is highly flexible, but remember, you got to do this very simply and highly reproducible. Whatever you do, the young disciple maker is going to do. So if you make it complicated, then it's going to be very difficult for them to reproduce this. So my recommendation is try to stay in order the best you can, and don't deviate out of the 101 until you finish it completely. It's simple by design, so it can be reproduced. Now, when you want to go to a lesson, all you do is select a lesson, click on it, and the link will pop up, and then you just click on that link, and it'll open up a new tab and take you straight to the lesson. That lesson's so simple you can cut and paste it into an email or a text. Then we move into 201 series. It's establishing. It's just more basics in the Christian life, helping that disciple get a firm footing in several of these topics. And then we move to 301, that's equipping. This is when they begin to start really reaching out to others. They may be starting their own A-team, and we want to equip them to do that. So 301, and you see all these lessons. Now notice here, spiritual gifts hasn't been completed yet, so we're still working on that Bible study. And as you're looking through the Bible studies, you may realize, hey, they don't have a Bible study on this particular area that this young disciple is struggling with. Well, one of two things can happen. You can either email us and ask us for that Bible study, or better yet, you can develop the Bible study, which consists of 10 verses, surefire verses on that subject, and it's in such a format that we can email it or text it to a friend. So it's got to be simple, it's got to be reproducible, and it's got to be able to be texted to someone. So 301, and then 401 is overseer training. We're still working in this area, but this is for people that go from leading an A-team to leading a disciple-making community or disciple-making church, a DMC. Now let me really quickly explain the difference between an A-team and a DMC. An A-team is an accountability team. It's got between 2 and 4 people in it, and it's small by design. Now, once you get to the 5th person, an A-team becomes very cumbersome because the accountability questions in the first third of the meeting, the meeting's broke up into 3 parts, past, present, future. In the past, the accountability questions are so detailed that it takes a lot of time for people to discuss how God is working in their lives. That is by design. In fact, the past takes up the lion's share of the meeting. So we have to be careful. The more people that we add to the process, the longer the meeting's going to take. So once you go to 5 or more, we consider that a disciple-making community or church. And what you have to do in that context is shorten up the accountability questions. We use basically 2, and they are how did it go with your accountability goal from last lesson, from last week? And then the second question is, how is God speaking to you? How do you feel about that? And how will you respond? So there's only 2 accountability questions in a DMC, where in the A-team, there's 7 or more. So you can see how the discussion might get really bogged down, or it could last hours if you try to do an A-team format with a DMC, a bigger group, a disciple-making church or community. So that is by design. And so now, disciple-making churches and disciple-making communities should have A-teams within them. That gets people in the smallest groups possible, and that's where the real life change takes place. So then we have some other resources down here at the bottom. We have another index. This index will probably eventually go away because it's kind of redundant. This one is separated by Jesus' center, up in and out, and this one is separated by the stages, 101, 201, 401, 101, 201, 301, 401. Got to count right. All right, so that basically is it for the Jesus Up in and Out series. We really hope that this is helpful. We'd love to have your suggestions. If all else fails and you're a beginning disciple maker, go right here to the T4T introduction and work your way through this process. Try to stay in order, try to stay by the script, and learn the science of disciple making. Once you get down to 201, 301, 401, you can plug and play these lessons. It's on-time training. Figure out what God's doing in their life, pick the appropriate subject or topic, and then begin with those lessons. All right, hopefully this is helpful. Love to hear your comments.